If you're an old Naughty Dog fan, then you would have known how they used to make their old games back then. It would be not only 4 games per franchise, but also 1 franchise per console. And not only that, it would usually go like this: a trilogy and then a racing game. However, everything changed in the PlayStation 3 era, at the end of its days at least. When the Uncharted trilogy didn't end up with a racing game, but instead we got The Last of Us. This is the first PlayStation game they made for the PlayStation 3 instead of Uncharted Racing. This game is usually called by many as the greatest PlayStation game, and not only is it so successful, it was so successful that remastered once and then remade again once. But for now we'll focus on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 versions. The game has been so successful that it got a remake and a remaster, all within less than a decade, and also got a sequel, which I'll talk about one day, and also got the latest HBO adaptation, which is really great. I really recommend it. But regarding the game, does it hold well today? Let's check it out. Now, just to be clear, I'm focusing on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 version. The PlayStation 5 version will wait one day. The game starts in 2013, where zombies started coming out and started attacking people to the point that the world is ruined. And now 20 years later, the whole world is ruined and people have become very different and cruel. Like, there are lots of quarantines and sucks. You play as a character called Joel, a smuggler who is asked by someone to take care of a girl called Ellie and send her to their location. This is the story of the game. It's a wonderful story so far. As regarding the gameplay, it's really different from previous Naughty Dog games. Like with Crash Bandicoot, it was a platformer, and Jak and Daxter, it was still a platformer similar to Crash Bandicoot, but it had some shooting. Uncharted is a third-person shooter, but it also had some platforming, so it was a little similar to Jak and Daxter in some ways. But The Last of Us, no, it's completely different. There's no platforming, there's no jumping. Like, jumping is only when it comes to certain elements of the game, of course. Stealth is very strong here in the game. It's about survival and crafting. It's about survival, so stealth here is very recommended. Your enemies aren't actually going to be zombies most of the time, or as the game calls them, infected. And sometimes it will be humans too. And sometimes killing enemies isn't recommended, as you'll have to sneak by them in order to win and pass. You can also stealth kill some enemies, however, but sometimes they are impossible. So what's the difference between the humans and the infected when it comes to being enemies? The infected, there are many kinds. There are the normal ones. You can sneak bypass them normally, and you kill them normally. You can stealth kill them, so on. There are also runners, which are pretty much the same, but they run fast, that's all. There are also clickers. These are basically supposed to be years old, so they will not see you. They will not see you, but they can hear well, so you can distract them easily. You can stealth kill them without having a shave, which is a blade you make. And there's also the bloater. These are very strong enemies. They shoot like fungus that can hurt you. You can't stealth kill them at all, period. And now when it comes to the humans in general are easier to kill because their health isn't as strong. However, they are smarter, so you can distract them easily, and they also have weapons, so keep that in mind. This game has 5 difficulties. You can choose from them, and every difficulty actually affects the game greatly. Choosing the easy difficulty almost kills the stealth in the game and makes it more like any other shooter. It's great if you want to play for the story. The harder the difficulty, the more resources are limited and the more bullets are limited. More enemies are stronger, and they'll be strong enough to even kill you sometimes with 1 hit or 2. But there are 2 difficulties called Survival and Grounded. Survival is locked in the PlayStation 3 version, while Grounded is a DLC in the PlayStation 3 version. They will disable an ability called Listen Mode, an ability that you can use to listen to enemies from far away and to detect them. It will be disabled when you play it here. And speaking of Grounded, this is extremely hard but true Last of Us experience, because you'll be very limited in resources. Enemies can kill you from 1 hit or 2, and you won't be able to see the HUD. It's the only way to know how many bullets you have and how is your health, by selecting the weapon and see your bullets, or by looking at the screen. If it's red, then you're dying. There's a nice crafting material where you can create your health packs and you can create small weapons, and you can also create some other weapons to distract enemies and so on. It's a nice crafting material, so it's really great. Unfortunately, this game, as much as I love it, it is kind of hard to recommend. No, it's not a bad game, but it's super slow. It relies heavily on stealth. The game is very slow, as not only is the first hour so slow until the action gets done, the game heavily relies on stealth. It's not like other shooters where you can just kill and so on. If you do that, you'll die. Maybe in the easiest difficulty you can do it, but not on the hardest. There's also multiplayer. Well, the multiplayer is shut down in the PlayStation 3 version and removed from the PlayStation 5 version, but it's still on the PlayStation 4 version. It's a little similar to old shooters, but heavily relying on survival and has you growing like your own pack of cult. It's a nice addition, but it's really fun. You should give it a try. Now that I've reviewed the game and I heavily recommend it, like giving it a 9 out of 10, there is also a DLC called Left Behind. While The Last of Us you play as Joel for the most part, with some minor levels you play as companions, and here you play as Ellie. This is basically a prequel that focuses on Ellie, and also a midquel that focuses on certain elements during The Last of Us. It's a wonderful story, a nice addition. While The Last of Us is a very cruel story, this one is a little light warming, a really beautiful game. The DLC is fine and amazing. I heavily recommend the game. An 8 out of 10 DLC for me. I really recommend that you play The Last of Us. It might not be my favorite Naughty Dog game or my favorite PlayStation game or my favorite game in general, but it's an amazing game that I heavily recommend you play. I give all the package a 9 out of 10. With that, thank you guys for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed my review. And if you do, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time for more.